The first time my wife, who you met earlier, Karen, and I were in St. Mark's Church was back in October of 2006 when we had come down from Minneapolis and I was being interviewed to become the rector at St. Mark's, and we flew in on a Tuesday evening, and a couple folks from the search committee picked us up and brought us over here on Wednesday morning, and the first person we met on the campus, of course, was Lynn Mullins. Lynn is the longtime admissions director here, and Lynn was here at the 8 o'clock. She still is omnipotent in this place. You just don't see her as much anymore. She retired from that position. But she brought us into the church, and we sat, if many of you remember, there used to be chairs that were along the back of the walls in the back of the church. And so Karen and I came in, and we sat down in one of the first chairs back there, and the church was empty. And, you know, the campus was looking a little worn. You could see that there was going to be some work ahead of you physically on the buildings themselves. And then the doors opened, and the lower school began to file in, because the lower school at St. Mark's School goes to chapel every Wednesday morning. First graders through fifth grade come on in here, and they do kind of a simple morning prayer. They worship, and they do the readings, and they receive chapel words. Mrs. Counts is the head of the lower school at that point. She's still sitting back there, and she's active at St. George's and doing work here, and she'd stand up here, and the children are kind of, few children in each class are singled out for some accomplishments for that week, and then they walk up and shake our hands, and they get their little award, and then they kind of stand in front with their little, certificates in front of them, very proud among their classmates, and we honor them, and then pray, and they also, I should say, learn Bible verses. Episcopalians can learn Bible verses. And they go through class by class, and they stand up and they recite their Bible verse that they've memorized to the clergy, to show us what's going on, and that they're all well integrated with why those Bible verses. It doesn't really matter about all that, but the point is, there's a pretty strict discipline and a way in which these young children come in here and worship. And Karen and I sat through that, and our jaws dropped, because we had never seen children behave so well. Honestly, it was remarkable. And to hear 300 or 280 children at that point all in unison say the Lord's Prayer, it is better than the music of angels. To this day, Sanford and Mimi and I, like whenever the Lord's Prayer is set up here in any context with the children, we just stop. Because to hear that being said by the voices of these children is a transfigurative moment, if you're going to take that theme from the gospel readings this morning. So 14 years go by, and I can tell you that the school has not changed. On Wednesday mornings, they're still filing in. On Tuesday mornings, the middle school files in. On Thursday mornings, the pre-K file in. And on Friday mornings, the whole school is in here, from kindergarten through 8th grade, for a school Eucharist. Same readings, you can come to Friday morning at 8:25 and you're done for the weekend. It really is the first weekend of the first Eucharist of the weekends. And this past Friday, it was in kindergarten. They've probably been doing this here for as long as the school's been in session. It was kindergarten, it was Grandparents' Day. So grandparents were all here with their kindergartners, or good friends if it wasn't a grandparent, and the church is a third full of these wonderful relationships that is so much a part of this community. So go forward. It's hard to say 14 years, and I'm here. The school has not changed, but I've been changed by the school. I was kind of warned coming down here back in 2006 that to be the rector of a school and church combination is difficult. Some of my classmates would say, not fun at all. Stay away from those kind of positions, because it can get conflicted, and many times schools outgrow the congregations, and the dynamics get all kind of messed up. St. Mark's, that has not been my experience. My experience here is that I just fall more deeply in love with this kind of crazy combination of a faith community with a school. And here's why. First of all, at St. Mark's School, the church, the worshiping community, that I'm looking now at folks who perhaps are down here for 3 months from up north, or those of you who have come into St. Mark's and your children have already grown, or those of you who come to St. Mark's Church, but your children are in other schools, public, private. Our children are all over the place. You are the foundation out of which the school is able to function so well. Let me just use simple examples. Your patience, when you come here to do something during the week, you want to just come in, you've got a session with Deacon Mimi or with Father Groff. You can't find a place to park. Parking here is miserable during the week. But you know what? You adapt. You do it. And even in some really small way, you're participating in the life of the community, the school. When we put in the security systems, and those of you who have been coming here for years and years, you walked in, you just got all over the campus, and now you've been here for 25 years as a parishioner, now you've got to come in and show us your driver's license and put a card on in order to get anywhere. But you know what? You do that. You adapt. You make it possible for us to have a safe environment for children you don't even know. That's how you participate in a really small way into the life of this community. And I've learned that it's from that relationship here that all things at St. Mark's start out in prayer and in faith to Jesus Christ that gives us the firm foundation of which we try to educate these young children to become human beings who prosper in this world. So I've learned that the relationship is essential for the two sort of big missions to work together. The school is the primary mission of this church. It is, and it will be probably forever. The second thing I've learned is that when the church is the foundation, we have some kind of value system to go back to. The children right now are learning what? I'm going to point over there, the fruits of the Spirit, right? Or you guys, I'm going to wake you up. You're all listening attentively. We spend a lot of time in front of the kids. We know when they're listening, and we know when they're not. But right, we're learning about the fruits of the Spirit, right? So can you guys name a few fruits of the Spirit for us? Yeah. Patience is one of them. Joy, yep. Kindness, gratefulness, love, peace. See, these kids are learning that, and then they're taught what that means, and so that when they're in the classroom, or they're on the soccer field, or they're at the lunchroom, or whether all of us on the staff get lost in the challenges of a school, like we have something to go back to. We have some way to measure how it is we're going to treat each other, how we're going to be for one another, a sign of Christ's presence in this place, because we bear the fruits of the Spirit. Like, that makes it pretty easy when you get out of a meeting, you think, you know what, I don't think I was very kind in that meeting. Or a child does something, that probably wasn't what you would call love. But you have a place to go back to. You've got a foundation, because we're built from this place out. So I so value the way we're able to influence and affect and teach children. And in teaching children, we're teaching ourselves those same truths. And then the third lesson that I've learned, and why I love coming to work here every day, when we're responsible for our children, today becomes the day that matters. Today is the only gift you and I have ever been given. There is no promise of tomorrow. And when you come into this environment, today is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. The pressure, I'm looking at now mostly parents, whether your children are at this school or not, the pressure on you is tremendous. 2-year-olds come in. Parents are already talking about whether they can get them into Duke or Yale. And Florida's a backup. That's sad to me. Children, a 2-year-old, like I've said to so many folks, if my boys were 2 and they just got home without like a dirty set of pants, that was a good day. And we're here to remind the community over and over again to find joy in their child today. Celebrate today. Don't worry about tomorrow, Jesus says. I'm going to take care of you. Right now, with an elementary school and a middle school, we get to do more than just worry about where they're going to go to college. Or even in the public schools. Like, if you're going to go off into a public high school, you got to know whether you're going to go into pre-medicine or you're going to be in finance or you're going to be an engineer. Come on. You're 13. That's not fair. But we want to help families and these children of ours to know that they're more valued than what it is they become or what they're going to do. They're valued because of who they are. They're gifts from God, given to all of us to take care of. And today should be filled with joy. This is the day. If you've got your family and you're here and your children are doing whatever they're doing, you know what? Give God thanks. Because someday you're going to look back and wish you had today again. Don't move past that. And that message is made possible because we're in a parish day school that's founded on Jesus Christ, that's supported and nurtured by a community of faith that find value in that and who want you to know. I'm looking at families who sit here who have had children go through here. You guys, in this midst, there are, I'm looking over, there's some younger parents in this midst, folks you don't even know that look, like, oh, they're like Father Cook, old and outdated. They're the folks that were the original room parents. They were the folks that ran the school auctions. They were the folks that built all these buildings, that contributed all their time and their resources to the buildings that we now enjoy. They're the folks whose children are starting to come back and send their children here. They're the folks whose children come back and Father Groff and I are officiating at their weddings. They're the folks who still consider this place their home. And they have gone off to places like Duke or Yale or Florida or who knows where they're going to school. This place becomes home because they've grown up in a foundation that builds not just their heads, but their hearts. So, happy birthday to St. Mark's School. Thank you to the generations who went before that built this little place and kind of watched it grow. Thank you to those of you who are currently here and support it in a myriad of ways that you don't even really, you're not conscious of. Thank you to the current parents who are here that are willing to take leadership roles and you're willing to, write those tuition checks and you're willing to embody those fruits of the Spirit for the rest of this community and beyond. And thank you for 40 years for St. Mark's. Happy birthday to this school. It's a really wonderful, momentous occasion for all of us. I want to show you a brief video that has been put together a little bit and shown at different places a little bit. So some of you might have seen it already, but it's kind of a good encapsulation of life in this place. St. Mark's is an Episcopal church that found its beginnings back in the early 60s up here in Palm Beach Gardens when Palm Beach Gardens was just getting formed. After a few years, started a preschool, like kind of a daycare, which is typical to try to use some of the buildings that were empty during the day. And from that, the school was born. Kind of year by year, another grade was added. And it's like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden we've got, fifth grade here, and then they decided to go ahead and build a middle school in the mid-90s. The The school is considered sort of the primary mission of the congregation. So there's a strong relationship between kind of both parts of the family, if you will.
And growing up, I attended St. Mark's. So when it came time to look for a school for our children, I was really excited to come back to the school and explore. And I've been incredibly impressed with the growth from the gymnasium and youth center to the cafeteria and auditorium, the additions of art studios and science labs. It's amazing how the curriculum has expanded, and as well as the extracurricular offerings and all of the things that our children can explore. With the growth, it's amazing that St. Mark's has really retained the feeling of home, and it was amazing to come back here and see so many familiar and welcoming faces, developing friendships in the classroom, and really becoming part of the St. Mark's family themselves. They're excited to go to school in the morning, and they come home from school feeling empowered and happy, and as a parent, that's something that really warms your heart.
To us, St. Mark's embodies the most important pillars of Christian education and the encouraging and fostering of the fruits of the Spirit, the patience, the love, the kindness. Those are the things that are focused on here in a place where everyone is welcome and everyone is encouraged to express themselves and to express their faith and to cultivate that in a safe environment of love and genuine care.
The campus has undergone a tremendous transformation. When I first started attending services here, way before I had any children, this place looked very different than it does now. It still has the same welcoming and friendly and upbeat and optimistic environment. But what it also has now is a campus that has been structured deliberately to make students safe when they are on this campus.
And these are kids who you see at a very young age. You know, when they see a need, they work to fill it. They see something happening and they want to help. They see a problem and they want to figure it out. And it's just such a joy to see that in children and to help nurture that. To see the children here in either chapel or Eucharist and to feel the energy here, that's that piece that parents, when we walk on campus, you feel it. And that combination of all of that is what families really love.
Educating the mind, of course, is essential to trying to help these little children that come in secure the best that life has to offer you, right? But that is not enough. I want that little child to know they're loved. And that starts so young in trying to form them into that human being that God knows they can be. And it is the head, but it's also what's going on in this, you keep this heart, how they see other people, how they see themselves in relationship to their friends, how they sort of the lens on which they're going to look at the world as they grow up, so that they have some context to take their education and put it to the use that God desires, not just for them, but for the whole of the world. And so the future of the world rests on the shoulders in many ways of that little child. And we as adults and at St. Mark's Church and School, we want to help form that child to be what Jesus would say ultimately we're all called to be, the light of the world.